Covered in cuts and wounds, Mythia asks her travel companion, Youth, if he is dead yet. Well, she really did believe that her attacks would finally kill him, but it looks like Euthanasia can only laugh at her useless attempts. Mythia is clearly not happy about these disappointing results, because she stabbed him really fast, hoping that his regeneration wouldn't catch up with her speed. Youth can only mention how painful the stabbing was, however they are both sad at still being alive. It's revealed that they are both traveling in this mad world to find a way to die, envying the countless dead lives that are at peace. On top of this, they are both covered in blood without even achieving their targets, and it's surely going to be a pain to clean it off. Mythia recalls the day when something weird fell from the sky and chaos ensued. Thinking it was a shooting star, she got all hyped and left her folks to check it out. Imagine swapping family time for a cosmic show. Priorities, right? That was a mistake, and she soon found out that the shooting stars were starting to fall closer and closer until there was a loud bang. She regained her senses soon after going home, but found everything to be completely gone and there was something sticking out of her head. She couldn't pull the strange head accessory out, and everyone knew she was dead even though she had become a strange unicorn-like being with a horn on her head. Without any reason to live anymore, Mythia tried to kill herself many times over, but she just couldn't die even though she tested every suicide trick in the book. Apparently, she was unable to die because of the silver horn, which is why she was looking for a way to remove this unicorn horn so she can die in peace. After this, she kept moving forward, found out that she just couldn't die, just like him, and they became an odd, undying pair. For one reason or another, they started traveling together, and 1 month had already passed before they realized that they had actually bonded over their inability to perish. At this point, she comes back to the present, where Youth has thrown a garment over her to wash. The garment obviously stinks with blood and body fluids, which is absolutely disgusting for Mythia, but her companion doesn't care, as he expects her to make it as good as new. She further explains that he calls himself Euthanasia because it seems to mean assisted suicide in an ancient language. He has chosen this new, morbid name for himself because he has forgotten his real one, but Mythia doesn't believe this story one bit. It's just weird that he never talks about himself, or his strange body, or his family. Is he aiming to keep the mystery act up just for her? The first time they met, Mythia had told her plans of wanting to die without even thinking twice, and they became travel companions right away. This gave her a chance to talk about many things, while he seemed to be meditating about something whenever he was alone. In the end, she has been the only one who is happy with this arrangement, while he hasn't opened up his heart to her yet. She is scared that the only friend she has managed to make is going to disappear one day, and this little thought haunts her every day. The second he goes out of her sight while she tries to clean his garment, Mythia starts having these horrifying thoughts of being alone once again. She searches for her companion when he steps out from behind the trees, telling her that he went to check out if there were people living somewhere around here. These abandonment issues are getting real serious. Turns out that there are some people living in the surrounding area, and he doesn't think that they would be living here if they could die. This clearly means they might find something if they go in the opposite direction. His words are left unheard by Mythia, who is still traumatized about his recent disappearance. Therefore, Youth shakes her out of her shock to let her know that he might have just found a place where they can die. Hold up, they're heading to Sanzi Waterfall, the go-to spot for locals feeling done with the craziness of life. Sounds like the perfect place when you've had enough of this loony world. Therefore, the two of them go there immediately. Mythia wonders if all the normal mortal people end up dying because she can't see the bottom of the waterfall. Youth thinks that this place has the same annoying silver color of the meteorite, which might mean certain death for them. How truly exciting it sounds. The moment Mythia hears this, she dives right into the waterfall, ignoring Youth's pleas to do it properly, like taking off their shoes, which she thinks is no biggie. Mythia is eager to see her folks again, but as she's slowly descending, the suspense is killing her. Hurry up, Waterfall! Youth surprises everyone by catching up, even though he jumped in later. Turns out this waterfall has a time-bending trick, an infinite loop. Normal folks might bite the dust, but what about them? Time for some serious analysis on this topic, folks. Youth believes their bodies will rot away if they keep falling forever, a one-way ticket to Mythia's version of hell. So he swoops in and rescues her from the loop. Of course, she takes some time to puke her guts out, but is grateful for them for saving her from the loop. Seizing the moment, she tests if he trusts her since he's tight-lipped about himself. Turns out, he thinks she talks enough for both of them. Surprisingly, this brings her joy, thinking she won't be lonely anymore, as they, the odd duo, keep on their quest to find a way to exit this world. In another life, in another time, Youth was a man proposing marriage to his beloved Emily, but his sweet dream is interrupted by Mythia's screams, ordering him to get up and get ready. This obviously makes him cranky, since it's the first time she got up a little earlier to make all this noise. Well, Mythia doesn't care because she is too excited by the prospect of finally being able to die today. This explains everything to Youth, as he realizes that she hasn't slept at all because of all this excitement. Mythia continues to talk about the death-dealing dragon past the mountain in front of them, just like something out of the fairy tales. She hopes that this monster can rip their souls and send them to the god of the underworld forever. Her enthusiasm is ready to take her alone to the dragon, but she falls off the cliff, which bends her neck in a weird way since she can't really die. Telling her to sleep, Youth also falls back into his dream world, wondering if it's the past regrets that are catching up with him. He remembers how people react to him whenever he goes because of his weird appearance, as well as normal people bad-mouthing him so damn much. People obviously tried to kill him too, but never succeeded, which is the only thing that makes him really disappointed. However, he wonders how Emily would react if she sees him in this form. She might just run straight to the hills, screaming at the top of her lungs. His mind tries to think if she would mean to harm him, or would she like to kill him like the others, which is a thought much scarier than death. He doesn't even know if she's alive and even refuses to go looking for her. Maybe it would be great to see her one last time? Luckily, Mythia snaps him out of his gloomy thoughts. She spotted the memento from his past that he gazes at whenever he's alone. Clearly not buying his excuse, she's all set to shake off the depression-packed atmosphere and finally go in search of that mighty dragon at last. Soon enough, they reach the edge of the valley from which they have to go down in order to find the dragon. Being the idiot that she is, Mythia falls off from the cliff once again, testing her companion's patience to the limits. On the other hand, Mythia has reached the ground with her neck still intact, thanking her lucky stars that she managed to not snap it twice in one day. This is when she hears a strange noise from nearby, finding the majestic dragon right below her. She has landed right on top of the dragon, and it's surely one of the luckiest things that has ever happened to her. She reveals her plans to die in front of the dragon, who is not at all interested since he despises humans, ordering her to leave right away. He clearly doesn't belong in the human fan club. The dragon makes her fall off his back just in time for Youth's arrival, making the beast notice that these two are not normal human beings at all. The two companions tell their entire life story to the dragon in order to invoke some kind of beastly sympathy in the creature. Of course, the dragon has a story of his own to tell, as he reveals that the meteorite has affected his life as well since his real name is El Cilio. According to the info dump, he spills the beans that the meteorite's been crash landing all over the place for ages, and they are its recent victims while he is their senior for several hundred years. However, it looks like he's not an immortal like the pair in front of him, as he begins narrating his own story. Starting off, there was a village surrounded by nature where El Cilio was just a small and weak creature, living with a boy who loved to daydream. The little creature loved every bit of his life with the boy until the meteorite fell, turning him into a huge dragon while everyone in the village disappeared. He just stood there, in a do-nothing mode for days, until a bunch of humans showed up, pointing fingers and blaming him for wrecking the village. They even threw a few attacks his way, and tagged him with the not-so-friendly title of Death-Dealing Dragon, turning the poor creature into a walking fear factor for humans. That was like ages ago, several hundred years to be precise. Since then, Mr. Dragon has been on a mission for that peaceful life vibe. He has also understood how foolish humans are, which is why he hates them all, and asks the traveling pair to leave since he obviously can't grant them a death wish. His story has brought tears to Mythia's eyes, crying for the grief that the dragon has gone through all alone. She's dealing with her own issues, saying if she were the dragon, she'd have checked out the world by now. But hey, he can apparently end it, so why is he holding back? It's a shocker. The dragon is confused by her question, realizing that he just needed someone to listen to his story. However, he is aware that his audience has come too late because he can't even remember the boy's name anymore. The surprising thing is that Mythia came to find death in the valley, but the opposite is happening when the dragon asks her to kill him instead. She is not on board with this plan, thinking the dragon's got a shot at a fresh start. Her solution, suggesting that he takes a trip instead. Journeys have proven to be an escape from depression for her, and it's possible that it will help out the dragon as well. Everyone should really put the past to rest and die without regrets, and these words hit a certain chord in Youth's heart as well, who immediately thinks about Emily. He never knew that Mythia was so thoughtful, making him wonder where she's been hiding all this time. Mythia keeps talking about the dragon's massive wings for flying, and Youth, who was complimenting her before, takes it back. It's obvious she's just throwing out words without much thought. She is quite the chatterbox. El Cilio, the dragon, has no confidence in himself or his moss-covered wings when Mythia tells him that his name means sky in an ancient language. This triggers all the memories within the dragon, and he remembers the boy telling him that he will turn into a dragon, making them both fly away into the sky forever. This realization triggers a memory flood for Youth, giving him the guts to attempt some flying. He decides to go solo, not bringing his two buddies along. He's all about the life-seeking vibe, while they're on Team Death. And that's how they say goodbye to the dragon, sharing a laugh about their ongoing inability to just die. At this point, Mythia makes it clear to Youth that she wants to know more about his past when the time is right. Her goofy smile works its magic, softening Youth's heart. He spills that in this weird, wonderful world, finding happiness might just be possible, even without the whole dying part, especially if there are more kind souls like her around. Unfortunately, his clumsy partner didn't hear a single sweet word of his, because she has fallen again, making him even more frustrated while they continue their hunt for death. After the meteorite fell, the world was driven mad, making everything a bit strange from people to the land. It's highly unlikely that things will go back to the way they were, which is why the two traveling companions continue their march in order to seek a peaceful death. It's a brand new day, but sadly it's raining cats and dogs, which is bad news for Mythia and Youth because it hurts their regenerated wounds like crazy. Plus, it doesn't look like the pouring rain will stop anytime soon, making them want a better place to rest instead of a cramped tent. Luckily, Mythia spots an ancient ruin a few meters ahead of them, and they immediately move closer to get inside the huge castle before they melt. She is quite sad at the ruined state of their tent, hoping to look for another one when the stupid rain finally stops. The better idea is to rest for now, but before they can get settled down, an arrow hits Mythia right in the head. Youth makes sure that she's still alive, getting mad at the idiots who put an arrow in her head since she is already dumb. What if this little incident makes her even dumber? Mythia had no idea if her partner is worried about her or insulting her, but Youth ignores her question, as he mentions that he will have to pull out the arrow. Before he can do anything useful though, he gets mesmerized by the delicious smell of a roasted squid, which is enough to distract him from the task at hand. Suddenly, a strange guy approaches, saying odd prayers for their peace and body-nourishing future. Mythia interrupts, telling him they're still alive and don't need his useless prayers. The strange man can't believe that these people are still alive, even after getting hit in the head with an arrow, while Mythia screams at him for attacking them when they only wanted to rest under a roof. The weird guy is left silent, as Youth instructs Mythia to yank the arrow from her forehead, creating a hole in the process. She's not bothered though, casually mentioning she can heal it with a bit of drool on her head. Their talk gives the poor guy the creeps, since it clearly sounds terrifying without context. The guy catches on that these buddies aren't your everyday humans. He spots the horn on Mythia's head and connects the dots, figuring it's a chunk of the meteorite. Suddenly, the conversation seems to be making a lot more sense to him. After their whole story is narrated to the man, revealing that he didn't set up the arrow traps in this building because he is also a victim of this cursed doomsday residence. He mentions that once they enter the labyrinth, they won't be able to leave until they're dead because it has set up countless traps. It's clear that the meteorite is behind creating this place as well, as the man explains that he was a researcher who came to this place with many colleagues. His friends all died, obviously, and he chose to live in this residence rather than take the risk of trying to escape. This poor guy has become a watchman of the labyrinth, which doesn't sound like a fun life. Sadly, he doesn't remember how long it's been since he got trapped here, and he uses the dead corpses as fertilizers for his crops so he can have all the food he wants in the world. This strange yet skillful man has even managed to make a bedroom, a bath with a sauna, and a relaxation room, making it look like he's living his best life. Mythia can't hide her disbelief at the guy's apparent enjoyment of labyrinth living, telling him to cut it out. He spills the beans that he's a lonely soul here with nothing on the agenda, cause folks die here like flies. It's been tough witnessing endless deaths, but the silver lining has arrived. Finally, he can have real chats with people, thanks to the immortality tag on the new duo in front of him. His depressing life and final residence gives Mythia the idea to reform this place as she wants him to die in a pretty place. She enlists Youth's help to turn this residence into a lovely graveyard, and they start off with cleaning all the mold from the walls and floors. They use the brooms and mops made from the dead people's clothes without worrying about God's wrath. Of course, since the place is filled with traps, Mythia and her partner get hurt a few times before the strange man could even warn them. Even with the warnings though, the excited Mythia still moves on like nothing's wrong with the place, making their host think that she is a huge idiot as well. Youth obviously helps out even though he complains a lot, but it looks like he just doesn't want to get bored for now. The strange man also asks them to call him the Watchman as he doesn't believe that names are remembered anyway. Later, Mythia reveals that she has deactivated the traps from almost every room with her body, which is obvious from the countless wounds. It turns out that she has discovered a weird room in the back which has a huge machine at the center. Strangely, the machine starts moving and rumbling, making them realize that the labyrinth is actually a ship that moves above the land. They can't believe how in the world this huge thing is moving, wondering if it's technology from an ancient world or something. The Watchman is still shaken up by this revelation, making a dash to escape the ship and dodge a potential demise. He's all in on the residence life and asks the duo to spread the word on their travels. Free rooms up for grabs for anyone who wants to swing by. Mythia says that he's more like the landlord, and he grins, offering them discounted rooms with their names on them. It obviously doesn't make any sense for them to pay with anything at all, since they are the ones who saved the landlord. Anyway, it's a chill spot for their endless days if they can't figure out the whole dying part. They can plan on doing something about that later, as they literally do have all their life to figure it out. The land is scattered with skulls and birds fly around with 25 eyes on their body. Mythia believes that there is no way things can now be turned to normal. She and Youth have been living in this screwed up world with their broken and immortal bodies, facing off against creatures that are even stronger than them. Suddenly, a ferocious sound breaks the silence. Could it be another dragon or some other ferocious beast awakening from a deep slumber? Turns out that the rumbling noise just belongs to Mythia and Youth's stomachs that are demanding to be fed. Even with these immortal bodies, they can still get hungry. Immortality is their biggest enemy. Not only does it make them incapable of killing themselves, but they are also constantly hungry. Their bodies have comically become skeletal as if their skin is clinging to their bones. Their eyes are like tiny black holes that threaten to swallow their entire face. They are helplessly lying on the ground and their limbs have become mere toothpicks with weak arms and legs along with a comically concave stomach that seems to have its own gravitational pull. Mythia starts weeping while claiming that she's dying from starvation. Youth reminds her that they can't die since they are immortals and they should start to cry even loudly while claiming that not being able to die is worse than dying from hunger. Her lifespan has increased and her IQ has decreased in equal proportion. She claims that even though they have gotten used to traveling without eating, having a meal after such a long time has made her hungry again. Mind you, by meal she means 2.5 tree leaves. Suddenly she stops crying and there is a pin drop silence. If Mythia isn't ranting, then it only means that she's thinking about doing something insane. She is staring hard at Youth and suddenly starts drooling. With a mischievous expression on her face, she tells him that his arm looks delicious and they should try grilling it. Youth reminds her that his arm is not a squid and he doesn't care if she dies. He recommends she should try eating dirt for once. She responds that eating dirt is her last resort, but it is on the list. Unluckily for them, they have run out of energy and collapsed on a road where not even grass grows. Mythia spots a duck-looking creature with a leak on its back. At first, Youth assumes that she's just tripping, but it turns out that there is a really weird creature with tentacles who seems to be carrying a plant that looks like a leek. Youth comments that the creature is definitely not a duck and it seems to be using the leek for something. He tells Mythia you can't gain anything without sacrifice. He tells her to steal the leek from the creature, but Mythia isn't just a regular kind of dumb, she is an advanced level. Instead of going for the leek, she stops the creature, puts its limbs in her mouth, and starts chewing. The creature panics and runs away with the leek. So basically they end up with nothing again. Youth scolds her for not capturing the creature first before eating it, but he's not surprised anymore. She's not even listening to him, and is analyzing what the mysterious creature tasted like. After a minute or two of yapping, she concludes that the creature tasted like a cloth. Her speech is interrupted by a loud growl. It's the same monster as before, Mythia's stomach. Her hunger is getting worse. She yells that they must run after that creature because it has been so long since they have found something to eat. Meanwhile, the adorable creature has been toddling to its destination. Those two crackheads catch up to it again and notice that it's deep into the mountains. Mythia tries her best to stay quiet and secretly follows the so-called duck. She and Youth are surprised when they tiptoe deep into the mountains and come across a huge village. Mythia stutters and looks like a squirrel who just stumbled upon a surprise birthday party for nuts. In front of her are countless so-called ducks, who are going about their everyday business. Some are carrying leeks, while others are carrying apples. Youth and Mythia try their best not to shout in excitement. They notice that these ducks are gathering at a particular cabin. If their hypothesis is true, then it means that there will be food. Mythia jumps in excitement and runs towards the cabin. Nothing could have prepared them for what they were about to encounter next. A human. A woman states in a mysterious tone that it is unusual for her to have guests in such a remote place. While holding and cuddling with the duck-shaped creatures in her arms, she calmly welcomes her guests. Mythia screams over how there can be a person in a place like this. She stutters and requests the strange woman to help them as they are about to die from starvation, obviously capping. Youth scolds her for having no shame or etiquette, but the woman doesn't mind the chaos and simply giggles lightheartedly. Her peaceful nature is like an alarm for the others. She remarks that they are so lively yet strange at the same time. For the first time, she maintains direct eye contact with Mythia and comments that she finds them interesting. Without revealing her name so far, she welcomes them and informs them that she will prepare the dinner right away. Mythia and Youth can't believe what they're hearing. How could their wish be answered so easily? The woman gives the same eerie smile and tells them to wash in the lake, because, well, no crap, Sherlock, they stink. Then there are some NSFW moments of Youth and Mythia taking a bath. Youth reminds her that they haven't taken a bath since they were at the waterfall. They have been working all this time too, and 2 + 2 = 4, so yes, they stink. After a long pause, Youth stares at Mythia and comments that something smells fishy. She immediately gets offended and asks if he can smell that from over there. Youth does a comedic facepalm, he has no face by the way, and tells her that he is talking about the woman who welcomed her. Something about her feels really fishy. He just doesn't understand why she decided to live in the middle of nowhere when there is a splendid village in the vicinity. Everything goes over Mythia's head to no surprise. To her, Youth is just yapping. She rolls her eyes and claims that she doesn't care if the woman is abnormal, she just wants to have food. Youth tries to put up an argument, but the loud growl from her belly stops him. Whatever the bizarre lady might have been up to doesn't matter to them anymore because she has prepared a mouth-watering meal for them. They don't even care if it's poison anymore. The water is drooling from their mouth, and Mythia is probably wondering if she died at the lake and went to heaven. The woman comments that she doesn't know if it's to their liking, but before she can even finish her sentence, Mythia already has half of the food down her throat. Youth has the decency to thank the woman first and then start swallowing everything in sight. A few minutes pass by and the woman suddenly giggles and asks them why they aren't worried that it could be poisonous. Youth informs her that it doesn't matter if she has poisoned them because they can't die and are known as immortal weirdos. The woman maintains her bizarre smile, and Youth and Mythia are feeling a bit odd that she didn't react much to that information. After a short pause, she remembers that she hasn't introduced herself. She claims that her name is Mysteria, and all these little duck-like creatures are the plushies she made. Mythia suddenly realizes why these creatures tasted like cloth when she was chewing one. When Youth asks her why these plushies even have the ability to move, Mysteria responds that they have been given the ability to have a life. And the reason why is the same as to why Mythia and Youth are immortals. She finally stops smiling and claims that she can use magic, and with it, she grants them life. Mysteria boasts that her creatures work so hard, and from doing insignificant tasks to working the land, they can do everything. She claims that they do it just not for her sake, but also for the sake of the people who were living in the village as well. Apparently, the people are so grateful for their work that they provide them with abundant food, and these creatures are the reason why they're so well off. She tells them that these plushies helped her prepare the food that they are currently eating. She reassures them that it isn't poisoned, with a suspicious typical smile of course. After a minute of silence, she addresses Mythia and Youth as travelers, and requests them to tell her about themselves. Mythia looks at Youth and he doesn't respond. She introduces herself and him and explains that they have become immortals thanks to the meteorite, but since they want to die, they are traveling together to achieve that mission. So they're friends because they share a mutual interest. Mysteria doesn't look satisfied with that response and comments that she knows that there's more to it than that. She asks the duo what their relationship is. Her argument is that under normal circumstances, one wouldn't think of traveling together with a weird-looking man. She smirks while claiming that they can either be father and daughter, brother and sister, or even lovers. Mythia slams her drink on the table and announces that they are only partners. Her counter-argument is that in this world, normalcy doesn't even exist, so there's no point in the whole under normal circumstances debate. Mythia frowns for the first time and her usual bubbly personality has disappeared. She directs her anger towards Mysteria and tells her that judging someone by their appearance is outdated. Basically, Mysteria's comment on Youth has offended Mythia a lot. Mythia gets up from her seat and thanks Mysteria for all the food. Mysteria joins her hands together as if to ask for forgiveness and requests them to spend the night. She claims that as an apology, she should arrange a change of clothes and a warm bed for them both, because it would be better than sleeping in the open. Sus behavior. But there's no way in hell these two crackheads will fall for that, right? Well, they are crackheads for a reason. While sitting in their warm and cozy beds, Mythia and Youth wonder how Mysteria got them so easily. She knows their weaknesses: warm beds and food. She has played her cards skillfully. Either that, or our protagonists are simply that dumb. Mythia suddenly gets anxious and tells Youth that she doesn't like Mysteria and gets the feeling that the latter is plotting something. Okay, Einstein, that's exactly what Youth warned you of like 10 hours ago. He takes a deep breath and decides that they are leaving first thing in the morning. Morning comes and their escape plan is not executed for obvious reasons. For example, they overslept. It's hilarious how Youth is shown to have bed hair. Bro doesn't even have a head to begin with. Mythia panics and claims that she couldn't resist the feeling of a warm bed. It's almost noon now. They are about to leave when the duck-like plushies, okay, they deserve a name, like seriously, present them with washed up and mended clothes. Mythia is surprised at how sparkly their outfits are, and Mysteria comments that she is good at sewing. Mythia thanks her but also states that they're going to take their leave now. Mysteria covers her face and claims that it's a shame as she had just prepared them breakfast. So basically, this is an endless loop. Every time they will try to leave, she will either present food or bed. It doesn't even come as a surprise when the duo doesn't even take seconds to seat themselves on the dining table. This is when Mysteria takes another attempt to make them stay. She reminds them that they have warm beds and food and they can stay for as long as they like to cure their fatigue. Hilariously, the next scene is Youth and Mythia sitting in their beds. Mythia admits that it is so comfortable that she doesn't want to leave. Youth, who is the smarter of the two, also agrees with that statement. Mythia asks Youth what if this is all a trap, and Youth contradicts her previous statement and claims that it can't be. His argument is that even if she was fattening them up to eat them later, they are immortal. Even if they were to die, that's also a win-win because they're suicidal to begin with. The next day, Mythia meets Mysteria and the latter asks her if Youth really isn't scary. Mythia repeats that he looks normal to her. At that response, Mysteria starts crying and hugs Mythia. Mythia narrates this incident to Youth and tells him that Mysteria might be a good person after all. Youth calls her naive and tells her to stop getting too attached to the plushies. The next morning, they wait for Mysteria on the dining table, but she never wakes up. Eventually, they enter her room and realize that she has passed away. She has left behind a letter for them. In the letter, she narrated that she was always waiting for someone like Mythia and Youth to show up. Apparently, before the night the meteor struck, she was having a lovely time with her husband. After the meteor struck, she opened her eyes. There was an ugly creature in front of her with the same green eyes as her husband. She yelled and screamed for help, but the creature said her name and turned into dust. She later realized that it was her husband. She carried his remains into a faraway place and stitched them together. Suddenly, they came alive and started helping her out. This was the birth of the plushies. Every time she gave them a life, her own energy was reduced. As a result, she was growing weak. However, before dying, she was happy to meet Youth and Mythia, and hoped that they would meet a happy end. While standing on the grave of Mysteria, Mythia asks Youth what love is. The expression on her face puts Youth on edge as it reflects that she has haunting memories from her past. Youth pats her on the head and reminds her of their goal: death. The plushies suddenly gather together and start walking downhill. Mythia realizes that they must be looking for their new owner now. She bids them farewell and hopes that they will meet again. In this new world, extreme weather and natural disasters are normal. Other typical instances include meeting a dragon or seeing a fortress move. But the highlight of this day is the terrible storm through which you can't even see anything. Youth and Mythia find shelter in a mysterious torn-out house. They try to sleep through the windy weather, but when they wake up, nothing has changed. Youth lights a fire to keep them warm, and they have a philosophical conversation about what would happen if the world collapsed. After 10 seconds pass by, Mythia realizes that philosophy is just not for her. I'm convinced she's bipolar. She quickly changes the topic and asks Youth why he hates the wind so much. He explains that he has always been like that since he was a kid. During his story, Mythia can't help but blush because he's talking about himself for the first time. Later, she claims that maybe the windy nights aren't so bad if they make Youth speak up. Youth yaps and then realizes that Mythia has fallen asleep. When she wakes up, he falls asleep and the cycle repeats. And then suddenly, Mythia realizes that the moon hasn't moved an inch from its position. Youth quickly tells her to grab their stuff so that they can escape the forest ASAP. The forest is clearly under a spell from the meteor and the time here has frozen. The day will never come and the weather will never get better. Accidentally, Mythia causes their fire to spread outside. In a mere few seconds, the entire forest is on fire. Luckily, it turns out to work in their favor, and the spell starts to disappear. After everything is over, Mythia wonders why they started to panic when the fire was spreading. She questions that if they remained in the blaze, would they have died? But then again, isn't death the thing they desire the most? Maybe they don't know what they're looking for after all. Maybe meeting Youth has changed her mind. She admits that she would have lost her mind long ago if she had been alone. They travel further into the earth and encounter more strange things. Mythia comes across a fresh human corpse and informs Youth. They have no clue how the body ended up there. The blood looks fresh and Mythia suddenly starts getting jealous because she is a suicidal maniac. She decides to take a quick peek and hopes that the body has a map of the region. As soon as she steps forward, arrows are fired at Youth. At the same time, Mythia falls victim to an obvious trap. A mysterious man emerges from the shadows and comments that it's surprising to see a cute girl. He reaches out his hand to touch Mythia, but Youth is already towering over him from behind. The man is shocked to see Youth alive, as he had just shot poisonous arrows at him. Youth ties up the bandit and Mythia takes her revenge by beating him to a pulp. Before they could end his life though, he offers his services as a guide and warns them of the dangers of the place. He claims that he knows that area like his own backyard. Mythia scoffs and claims that a handful of bandits can't do them any harm. The man narrates that ever since the meteor fell, the head of the bandits has obtained special powers. The man, who we later find out is named Kiko, thinks that finding out about the boss's powers will scare the duo, but Mythia claims that they want him to guide them to his boss now. Perhaps he will give them some clues about the meteor. Kiko guides them through the land and stops at the entrance. He jokingly tells them to ask the guards to let them in because they want to see the boss, and Mythia immediately complies. The guards yell that they have located a monster and start attacking it. Youth is surprised that no one is attacking him and the said monster is actually Mythia. When they realize that their attacks are not doing any damage, they run to call for backup. Kiko is still tied up in ropes and Mythia commands him to guide them to the boss. Kiko admits that this village was his home until it was plundered by the bandits and he wants nothing but revenge. After a comical battle with the minions of the boss, Kiko eventually succeeds in entering the boss's headquarters. After announcing that he is here for revenge, he backs away and tells the boss that his rivals are Youth and Mythia. The boss is a six-pack having buffed stud, who claims that the meteor gave him a magical hammer. Youth and Mythia claim that it is simply an ordinary hammer, but before he can respond, Kiko barges into the room on a giant horse and somehow kills the boss. Honestly, everything about this plot is defying the laws of physics at this point. Kiko, the thief, spills the beans to Mythia and Youth about the newest spot for their Trying to Die mission. It's called Sakura Forest, and the word on the street is even the bandits steer clear because it's just too darn spooky. There's a rumor floating around that the wind goes nuts in that forest, even though you can't actually feel it. But here's the kicker. By the time anyone strolls through, they hit the crazy train, cough up blood, and call it quits. Perfect for the two oddballs on the death hunt. They decide to keep the adventure rolling. The two pals make it to Sakura Forest, and it's legit giving them the creeps. Now they're just wanting to see if this place drives them bonkers or if it's another failure in their attempt to, kick the bucket. Death is not making it easy for them. Suddenly the mood shifts. Mythia senses that something's up. They spot a little girl, and at first they think she's in some fairy tale fantasy where only she sees magical beings. But nope, Youth can see the girl too, making them question if they've gone bonkers together. Turns out the girl is no illusion. Now, the big mystery is why is a child wandering alone in this creepy forest? Being her impulsive self, Mythia goes for it, trying to confirm if the girl is real. Luckily she is, and Mythia is over the moon, thinking they've stumbled upon an actual fairy. Youth, the voice of reason, is getting increasingly frustrated with Mythia's lack of thinking before leaping abilities. But does she care? Nope. She's bombarding the little girl with questions like, hey, help us find a way to die, okay? Youth is just face-bombing at her stupidity. After Mythia's many tries, the little girl only says one word, Renka. Then, out of nowhere, an old man appears, waving his sword at them. Not the friendliest start, no introductions or anything. But hey, the old man, Ikaruga, eventually spills that he pointed the sword just to help them. Mythia's not fully buying it. I mean, he doesn't look like a fairy, right? Ikaruga seems cool with talking, noticing that they don't see him as some ghost or whatever. He suggests sitting down for a friendly chat. Ikaruga shares his story about the day the meteorite crashed. Renka was the only living soul around. Mute and looking like a plant was taking over her body. Holding an empty plant pot, she stared at him like he was a ghost. Despite the scary vibe, Ikaruga couldn't leave the girl alone, so they embarked on a journey and gave her a new name. Their mission? Get Ikaruga's memories back and find a cure for Renka's weird plant situation. But the progress has been slow. Mythia realizes that they're the opposite of her and Youth, and to prove their immortality, they attempt some self-inflicted harm. It's more shocking than convincing, and Renka probably needs some therapy now. At least Ikaruga gets it that they can't die. Actions speak louder than words, right? With everything laid out, Ikaruga just can't wrap his head around why on earth Mythia and Youth want to die. He's all against dying, especially when they have immortal bodies to flaunt everywhere. Mythia tries to explain their quest for death, but she can't quite pinpoint the sufferings of being immortal. None of her statements make sense to the old man, and the poor girl gives up just as soon as the child gives up explaining memes to their grandparent. Ikaruga still thinks that they're nuts for wanting to die, and Youth loses his cool, screaming about how it's pointless to live in this crazy world. As the two guys argue over the beauty of life, they spot Mythia in the background chowing down on grass. Yeah, that puts a quick halt to their fight as they marvel at her odd choice. Now, Ikaruga drops a bomb. He came to the forest to see cherry blossoms in full bloom, but that's why he's here with Renka. The immortal duo, all geared up for death, is shocked that the old man's here to appreciate cherry blossoms. Apparently he's rocking only one eye and might not have long to live, but he's determined to enjoy all the beauty with little Renka. The forest, filled with corpses and bugs, isn't exactly Youth's idea of beauty. It's crystal clear that the two guys see the world in totally different ways. For For Youth, it's the same old excuse about having a monster's body and not remembering that the world looked like before he got this freakish form. Then comes Ikaruga dropping a real question, asking if Youth wants to cure his body. This hits Youth like a ton of bricks. He never really thought about it. A cure could mean reuniting with his lost love. It's a tempting idea, but Youth shuts it down fast. His fate, he believes, is tied to Mythia now. Ikaruga gets the hint and suggests they focus on finding the insects that might help end their lives. He heard a different story about the forest, touting superb scenery, but with a catch: terrifying parasites. These buggers are bloodthirsty and turn hosts into instinct-driven maniacs. Imagine this parasite, right? It's playing hide-and-seek inside someone's body, doing a total sneak attack. It's super cruel and softly killing the person. And just when things are getting spicy in the conversation, with more details about this deadly insect that might help the immortal pair finally achieve the darkness of death, they realize that Mythia is gone into the forest. She has no doubt definitely found herself some trouble. The two are now on a Mythia rescue mission and stumble upon this massive cherry blossom tree. But guess what? It's a bug party central, and they're all chomping on blood, including Mythia's. Not cool at all, and the immortal girl is surely not going to like being a feast for these creepy crawlies. Now, Mythia is stuck being a forever blood bag, and Ikaruga is getting a taste of the whole immortality struggle. It's clear that she won't be able to die no matter how much dinner the insects or the trees get from her. Then there's Ranka, the silent ninja type, dropping some wisdom for a plan. This is the first time she has uttered a word since she got here, but her scheme is better than the two oldies could come up with. They cut a branch covered in meteorites to save the day, according to the big plan, which might fail miserably if they make a tiny mistake. Ikaruga takes a gamble, slices that tree with Mythia, and boom, it works. Mythia wakes up, thinking that she had the weirdest dream ever. Youth spills the truth later, but it's nighttime, and with that also comes their chance to leave. They give major props to Ikaruga, saying their goodbyes, still not totally sold on giving this world another shot. Mythia's kinda bummed that they dipped while she was taking a nap, shedding a tear or two. It's really hard for them to find kind people in this insane world. Youth hints to Ikaruga that they might run into each other again if he finds a cure and changes his mind. But for now, the immortal companions continue their journey, still looking for the death that seems to run away from them no matter how hard they follow it. After the meteorite crashed, it was survival of the fittest, people doing anything to stay alive, killing or stealing. Those without power were toast, and that was the new norm in this twisted world. The two buddies have been trekking for days, and to beat the boredom, Mythia decides to kick around a corpse for some weird entertainment. Frustration sets in as they haven't seen another soul for days, making them doubt their chosen direction. A map would be gold right about now. But lo and behold, in the middle of nowhere they stumble upon a family temple. These random discoveries are perfect for an adventure. Just as they approach the temple, they stumble upon a grim scene, a bunch of fresh corpses. Before they can wrap their heads around it, Mythia's noggin gets unexpectedly severed from her body by some unseen force. Lucky for her, being immortal has its perks. Youth can't easily pop her head back where it belongs. Enter the secret attacker, all ready to go beast mode and take down anyone who dares to approach. This dude looks fierce, but Youth, he couldn't care less. He's laser focused on the crucial task at hand, fixing Mythia's body. It's a lengthy and amusing process, but hey, teamwork makes the dream work. Once Mythia is all in one piece again, she takes a shot at reasoning with their attacker. She tries to convince him that they're just a harmless duo of immortals, and there's really nothing to fear from them. The attacker, having witnessed Mythia's revival and healing, seems utterly clueless about the meteorite chaos that's spreading. Turns out this area is a total exception. The meteorite had zero impact here. It's quite the shocker for our immortal pair, considering they've seen enough crazy stuff to last 1,000 lifetimes. As they spill the meteorite tea, the attacker has a surprising favor to ask. Despite just trying to off them a few moments ago, it turns out he's a local, born and bred in this area, with zero knowledge of the outside world. Even though it's a safe haven, he's struggling to save a girl dear to him. It turns out he's seeking to borrow the immortal's powers for a noble cause. He spills the beans about a girl named Rhea, residing in the temple. She's deeply attached to her knight, a mysterious figure who guards her incessantly. The twist? They've never seen each other's faces. She always stays behind a door in her room. Rhea wants to personally thank her loyal knight, but the knight, being cautious, warns against it. There are assassins lurking, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Promising to take Rhea to safety soon, the knight walks away, feeling inadequate for not making her happy. In a surprising revelation, he confesses to the immortal duo that he's not really a knight. He was sold to a group of assassins as a kid, and he's now on a mission to eliminate the leaders of the White Moon faith. Sounds like duty calls. This hitman dude was supposed to take out Rhea, but oops, he catches feelings instead. Classic rom-com plot twist, right? One could almost imagine such a scene where our bloodthirsty assassin is on a mission, ready to strike. But hold up. He passes out like he's in a Shakespearean drama, later waking up to nurse Rhea, not your typical damsel in distress, who is taking care of him as he is too sick to move. The nameless assassin doesn't want to get attached too soon. However, Rhea manages to change his heart by her constant talks of making someone happy as flowers. Suddenly, the assassin guy's having an existential crisis as he can't bring himself to do the dirty work. The next day, he goes all John Wick on his coworkers who were snooping around. Fast forward, and he's now Rhea's self-appointed bodyguard. Mythia is obviously not impressed, as she can't believe that he seriously tried to kill an innocent girl for cash. Youth, being the chill philosopher, gets the grim reality of their world. The assassin, still without a name, throws them a solid apology and generously opens up his secret stash for them to loot. He's keen on keeping things status quo, so it seems like there's no fairy tale ending for Rhea and her brooding knight. But before they part ways, Mythia, ever the romantic, hands the assassin a necklace crafted from pretty flowers and stones she's collected. A true believer in love, she asks him to give it to Rhea. Sweet, right? Later on, the assassin delivers the flowery gift to Rhea, who's over the moon, sniffing it like it's the sweetest thing ever. In return, she hands him her father's charm, a meaningful token. It's pretty clear she's smitten, especially considering she's lost everyone to an assassin. Meanwhile, Mythia is still in her head, wondering if there was more they could have done for the star-crossed lovers. Youth, being the realist, disagrees. Just when things seem chill, Mythia's head gets another stab, courtesy of the Black Sun Faith warrior priests. The nameless assassin is already in the middle of a solo showdown with these holy troublemakers. They try to warn him, but sadly he's deep into a one-man combat show. Rhea, unable to see the fight, can only hope for the savior's victory. In the heat of battle, the assassin spills the secrets about the dirty deeds he's done. When Rhea finally steps out, her eyes meet the brutal truth. She swiftly stabs her supposed knight for the pain he's caused. Enter Mythia and Youth, witnessing the tragic demise of their newfound friend. Rhea, clueless about their immortality, asks about her knight, and Youth, with a heavy heart, lies about their roles, claiming they were her protectors. They hand Rhea a map to the assassin's hideout for safety, but she decides to cool off in the temple before setting out. Meanwhile, Mythia and Youth find solace in the fact that they could at least help their friend in the end. Rhea could have totally recognized the assassin if he had just said a few words, but he died while worrying about her safety. The immortals are crossing their fingers for Rhea's happy life, but she figured out the assassin was her knight from the charm, and this broke her heart consequently, making her take her own life. Yikes. The immortal duo has no clue about Rhea's drama yet. They're talking about the black and white fates being a bit wonky, even though the white faith folks were getting the short end of the stick. Mythia drops some wisdom, saying the world was probably weird before the meteorite crashed, so they keep on their journey, wishing for a glow-up someday. Mythia finds herself alone with Kiko, the thief, and her animated plush toy. But here's the kicker. She's not that thrilled that Youth, her buddy, isn't around. And to add to the confusion, she can't quite remember how Kiko became the boss or how they wound up there. Earlier, Mythia and Youth stumble upon a picture-perfect ghost town. Sure, it's mostly falling apart, but hey, some buildings still rock intact roofs. Protection for a good night's rest. And who knows, luck might just be on their side, letting them snag some supplies for the road. They walk around and find a strange statue that looks more like a devil than a protector. The village seems to have a liking for weird things. Despite that, they discover a nice place to sleep for the night, hoping something interesting happens the next day. Mythia's grand waking moment involves her being a star prisoner in a jail, chained up like she's the main act. No sign of Youth, who usually handles the escape plans. It hits her right in the abdomen feels, and she's not thrilled about an immortal life behind bars. Enter Kiko, the surprise guest. He stumbles upon Mythia's jailhouse drama, and instead of a rescue mission, he invites her to join his jailbreak party. Now, Mythia's got a one-way ticket out of the slammer, courtesy of a plush thief. But seriously, who put Kiko in charge? Is he the jailbreak mastermind? Kiko shares that after crossing paths with Mythia and Youth, he caught the travel bug too. Embarking on his own journey, he somehow found his way back to her. But let's be real, Mythia is too busy having a plush party with Tenti to pay much attention. Because who wouldn't be fascinated by a talking, moving plush toy? Grateful for Kiko's help, Mythia thanks him and admits that she doesn't know where Youth is. He pulled a disappearing act after she found herself locked up in the jail following their night in the ghost town. Kiko's jaw drops when he learns that Mythia and Youth wandered into the town of the Undying without any research. He spills the tea that it's all about devil worship and immortality rituals. The town's been in ruins for 100 years, but our dynamic duo just strolled in like it's a theme park. The town has a darker history than a vampire's closet. people were straight up kidnapping others for sacrifices, selling their souls to the devil, all thanks to a lord who was into some seriously messed up heretical religion. They kept at it until a meteorite crashed the party a century ago. But guess what? The town still has a thing for making folks vanish like magic tricks. It's like a sacrifice-seeking ghost town. Sacrificed by ghosts? That's some serious next-level supernatural drama. Kiko spills the holy water tea he swiped from the church, and it turns out this castle gives him the heebie-jeebies ever since they waltzed in. Kiko sees his golden opportunity. With Mythia as his immortal new partner, he's eyeing that giant treasure buried behind the castle. Of course, he plans on using Mythia as a human shield because she can't die. However, he conveniently doesn't tell her about his secret plan of his. Talk about a weird duo, one immortal girl and one treasure hunter, and a plan that's both bold and slightly shady. Things take a ghostly turn as Mythia encounters an empty suit of armor that decides to play a little stabby game. But hey, being immortal has its perks, and she's still standing. Mythia, with her unique sense of humor, suggests to Kiko that he can use her as a shield. Kiko, surprisingly considerate for a thief, advises her to walk behind him, making it seem like he has a change of heart. The castle turns out to be a real downer. Mythia's getting a bit antsy because, seriously, they can't even crack open a window. She's having those deep thoughts about whether she'll ever escape this place. Kiko, the party pooper, doesn't share her confidence in Youth's worry, but Mythia's convinced that Youth won't ditch her. Gotta love that immortal bond. Bonding time really warms Kiko's heart, but there's no time for warm fuzzies. He whips out the map, unveiling the grand escape plan, through a conveniently collapsed wall on the next floor. It's the ultimate duo escape move, showcasing how a thief and a lone wolf roll. Hope is in the air as they strut forward, but out of the blue, danger strikes and Kiko's partner is about to fall off. Mythia's on the edge, quite literally, but Kiko swoops in for the save. He's grabbing her hand, not ready to let go, even though he's fully aware she won't bite the dust. Getting her back to solid ground, they enter the next room, and surprise, surprise, a fancy coffin steals the spotlight. Ever the curious cat, Mythia pops it open, only to reveal the ancient lord of the village catching on some sleep. Meanwhile, Kiko's digging into a book about turning into a vampire soon. This is some classic undead drama. Drama alert, Youth storms in, ready to give Mythia a piece of his mind for the vanishing act. Kiko, the thief extraordinaire, takes it all in, wondering if he could have been Mythia's partner if Mr. Grumpy hadn't shown up. Tensions are high, and Kiko's stuck in the middle of this immortal quarrel. Kiko's not shedding tears over the lost treasure. Instead, he's hopeful about the many interesting things he might stumble upon in his adventures. Youth, the brooding partner, expresses his gratitude to Kiko for watching over Mythia, and in a generous move, Mythia gives Kiko a jewel as a token of appreciation. As they bid farewell to Kiko, he holds the treasure gifted by Mythia, accompanied by his trusty plush toy. He sets off on his journey, aware that he might never encounter anything as interesting as the weird duo of immortals. His adventure is just beginning, while the immortal pair is waiting for their next one. Mythia is sitting in front of a fire while complaining about how cold it is, whereas Youth appears to be washing her clothes. He reminds her that the only reason that they're stuck here is because she puked all over herself. Seriously, he is literally babysitting her. Give this man his paycheck. He has set up a makeshift laundry station and is scrubbing the fabric vigorously against the rough wooden surface while reminding Mythia that they had to wander around the entire day to locate a river to wash her clothes, and now it's already night. Youth is fully immersed in the task, as if he was a skilled laundryman in his previous life. He hangs the washed garment on a makeshift clothesline strung between two sturdy trees, and says that since her clothes aren't going to dry anytime soon, they will have to spend the night at this place. Luckily for them, there are remains of coal lying around in the area. Youth suspects that someone was here to rest, but he is too tired and grateful that they were able to find a fire source. Even if someone was here, any sign of them has disappeared completely as if by magic. Suddenly, Bro's eyes, all 60 of them, transform into wide saucer-like orbs as if he has just stumbled upon a long-lost treasure or witnessed his grandmother's ghost. He makes the most disgruntled sound that even Mythia comes back to her senses. She asks him if everything is alright, and Youth responds, in all seriousness, that he has to go to the bathroom. Bro just felt a bowel movement. Now the next important quest is to find something that he can use to wipe his butt. It's almost too good to be true that there are conveniently a load of papers lying around. Mythia hands them over to Youth as he leaves to go on a bathroom safari. As he leaves, Mythia realizes that right beside her there is a grave of someone. After Youth is done launching a brown torpedo, he takes a deep sigh. He feels refreshed and gathers the papers to clean himself. Before using it, he decides to read it and the words catch him off guard. The plot cuts off to the story of a homicidal maniac. In the chilly forest on a dark night, seeking warmth and comfort, he gathers some dry twigs, leaves, and sticks, and forms a small pile on the ground. It appears to be the same spot that Mythia and Youth have come across. This man, who we later find out is named Ikaruga, isn't traveling alone, and seems to be conversing with someone who appears more like a pet than a human. Suddenly, they are visited by yet another mysterious figure. The person asks Ikaruga if he's a traveler. When Ikaruga says yes, he introduces himself as a researcher who had no other choice but to enter such a dangerous place. He asks Ikaruga for permission to sit so he can catch his breath. Ikaruga allows him and asks him to explain why he thinks this place is so dangerous. The strange person introduces himself as Stren and claims that he has been researching the strange power of the meteorite. This seems to catch Ikaruga's attention, and he admits that he has always thought there was something to that meteorite. He states that he had several marvelous experiences, and Stren seems happy to hear that. The stranger expresses his gratitude for finally meeting someone who understands him. He explains that he believes that the power that the stone holds is magic, and the meteorite fell on purpose to change this world. His perspective is that the meteorite has created a world where people can live with a new logic, and in his opinion, that is nothing but magic. He believes that in the future, the world will be filled with unreality, and this means that a new era is coming. There is a minute of silence after that. Strain knows that Ikaruga is probably thinking that this guy is either schizophrenic or paranoid. He apologizes for getting too excited and yapping nonsense. Ikaruga states that Strain has an interesting point of view. However, he claims that he doesn't see how this can all be magic. Ikaruga isn't the type of person who believes in the whole God's judgment that results in calamity. He does, however, admit that the meteor has caused enough trouble and many of them lost their minds and bodies. Strain understands that Ikaruga isn't concerned with what or who is responsible for everything that has happened. Instead, he is more interested in learning how to deal with the power of the stone. Strain respects that point of view and brings the conversation back to the topic of why this area is considered dangerous. The reason has something to do with the homicidal story. Strain slowly lowers his head and his eyes become gloomy. He explains that there is a rumor going on that a crazy homicidal maniac is hiding nearby. He comments that even though it's just a rumor, it is terrifying and interesting at the same time. Apparently, there was a man who was born in a foreign country. Supposedly, his birthplace met with danger a year ago when the meteorite was washed ashore. He was also a victim. This area used to have several villages. After narrowly escaping damage, they struggled to live a peaceful life. But now it's deserted, and in a year and a half, all the villagers have disappeared. Strain takes a short pause to build up suspense and to prompt Ikaruga to take a guess. Obviously, the rumor has it that the man killed them all. It is said that right from the start, the man was mad, even without the meteorite. Strain's expressions have gone wild, as if he makes a living by telling these stories. He claims that the story that the man's birthplace was destroyed by the meteorite was a lie because he is the one who killed them all. Ikaruga doesn't respond, but instead, he slowly grabs his sword and unsheaths it. He lunges forward and swings his sword at Strain, causing the latter's research papers to scatter everywhere. Probably the same papers that Youth is about to use to wipe his butt. Ikaruga repeats Strain's description of the homicidal maniac. He is a one-eyed traveler dressed in the clothes of a foreign country and is trying his best to get close to people. Ikaruga perfectly fits the description and he knows that. Strain is caught by the attack and is standing frozen in his place. Strain eventually regains his composure and tells Ikaruga to stop playing dumb. He claims that everything about him is written in his notes. He accuses Ikaruga of trashing his lab and tells him to get prepared for karma. After announcing that heinous people like Ikaruga should be reborn, he pulls out his knife, which he claims has been carved from the meteorite itself. He rushes towards Ikaruga, while stating that he will be the cornerstone of his research. Ikaruga doesn't move from his place. He simply watches Strain as the latter closes in. Maybe he really is the crazy homicidal maniac and has accepted his death to redeem himself. Just when he is a few inches away, a mysterious figure swings his sword and cuts the latter in precisely two halves as if he were a piece of a vegetable. As the dead body of Strain falls to the ground, the attacker's face is revealed to Ikaruga. He is one-eyed and covered in blood. There is not an ounce of emotion or an expression on his face. It doesn't take Ikaruga long to realize that standing in front of him is the crazy homicidal maniac. With the most polite tone and gesture, he requests the psychopath to not cause bloodshed in front of a child. So the thing he's traveling with is in fact a human. He asks the terrorist in front of him if he can speak any language. The only word the latter speaks in response is kill. In a mere second, he lunges towards Ikaruga and there is blood everywhere. Did the homicidal maniac just claim yet another victim? Someone is digging a grave and the maniac obviously does not have the decency to gracefully bury his targets. He suddenly starts wondering if he is also a victim. He knows that he is not some maniac, but how is it that he has no memory of why he can freely wield such a large blade? He also admits that he gets a faint happiness every time he swings his sword. There is also this dream that keeps bothering him. The only glimpse that he remembers is of a blood-covered flower. The child who was sleeping through the entire drama finally wakes up. Ikaruga holds her in his arms and tells her to go back to sleep as this place is dangerous. While traveling to somewhere safe, he asks the kid who the real he is. The kid yawns and goes back to sleep. We really hope that he wasn't expecting a philosophical response from a 3-year-old. He chuckles and claims that everything is okay as long as he can see the kid's lively face. He doesn't know what kind of person he is, but one thing he's sure of is that it's not worth worrying about. The pilot takes us back to the present timeline of Youth and Mythia. Youth appears to be a lot smarter and educated than what we've been assuming. Just from the arrangement of the constellations, he has deduced that an entire year has passed since the meteorite fell on the Earth, engulfing it in mystery. Mythia claims that she has gotten used to things being relatively strange, but something feels off today. There is nothing left to eat and she's tired of eating nuts. Meanwhile, Youth is busy cracking nuts with his knife. He tells her to stop complaining, because even if they don't eat, they won't die anyway. Mythia claims that it's not about death, but it's about the hunger pains that she can absolutely not tolerate. She admits that she wanted to eat meat and there are a lot of fish and birds around. The only problem is that their double-headed bodies and 10 eyes repulse her. Youth states that this is rich coming from her, as she was the first one to bite the duck-looking plushie as if she were a carnivore. Mythia pouts and states that she wants to eat something that isn't bothersome to catch. Suddenly, there is a mini voice that recommends eating a bell pepper. Youth and Mythia look around to find the owner of the voice. They are shocked when they realize that the sentence was said by a literal bell pepper, and it has been sitting right under their nose all along. Mythia points to it and asks how it obtained the ability to talk. I mean, it is a pretty stupid question to ask, given all the strange things they've observed thanks to the mighty meteor. The bell pepper doesn't respond to that question and recommends them to eat it because it's a vegetable's duty to be eaten. The bell pepper begs the duo to use its body to satisfy their stomach. Mythia and Youth give each other a bombastic side-eye, a criminal offensive side-eye because of how weirdly the bell pepper worded it. Youth claims that, aside from the massive size, limbs, and the ability to talk, it seems like a normal bell pepper. He extends his hand towards the bell pepper, but it stops him. The pepper states that it doesn't want to be touched by that man. When Youth asks if it's because of his scary looks, the bell pepper explains that he has a wish of getting eaten by a young cute girl. Okay, pause. FBI, pull up. Mythia is absolutely disgusted by that statement, and Youth starts sharpening his knife to chop up the horny bell pepper. Mythia again repeats her question and asks how it obtained the ability to talk. The bell pepper explains that it was born out of magic and a research institute where scholars are researching the truth about the meteor. The bell pepper also states that it is scared of returning because that place is filled with beasts and mutants who were experimented on. And another reason why it left is because of the lack of girls. Yeah, this creature is down bad. When Mythia asks him to guide them to the institution, the bell pepper agrees, but only on the condition that Mythia will eat it. Throughout the entire journey, Pichon, thank God they gave it a name, keeps talking about his fetishes in detail. When they reach the destination, they realize that it has been burned. Mythia becomes frustrated and decides to enter it anyway to obtain some clues about their existence. Pichon warns her because if the research facility is on fire, that means all of their experiments have escaped. Just as they are speaking, a hideous creature attacks Mythia. Pichon jumps in the middle and receives a fatal wound while trying to save Mythia. Youth kills the creature, but it is too late to save Pichon. The latter requests Mythia to respect its dying wish and to eat it. Mythia puckers her lips in disgust and sadness. She takes one bite and Pichon dies with satisfaction. She chews while bawling her eyes out. For some reason, Youth thinks that it is a perfect time to remind Mythia that Pichon's body had human flesh inside of him and can talk and walk like a human. The thought of cannibalism almost makes Mythia puke. Youth is lucky that he's immortal. The plot takes a 360-degree turn and explains the story of the homicidal maniac. Apparently, he was a depressed man who started digging his own grave. People started calling him a madman, and it somehow made him feel special. However, after the meteor fell, everyone became insane and he lost his specialty. That's when he decided to kill everyone and purposefully took out his eye to look different. When he realized that Strine was just taking his spotlight by experimenting like a madman, he decided to trash his lab and kill him. Youth finds out this story from the paper that he is about to use to clean his butt. He asks Mythia for the rest of the papers, and she innocently tells him that she burned them to fuel the fire because they had a boring story of a boring man. Youth starts pulling his hair in frustration. He doesn't have a head. Finally, Youth's backstory is revealed. He was a monster hunter, and the night the meteor struck, he himself became a monster. He wondered if it was some kind of punishment from above. His own hunting crew suspected him of killing their friends, so he had no option but to kill the people he loved. Ever since then, whoever he came across would attack him because of his appearance. Initially, he wanted to find out the reason why everything happened. Villagers set him on fire, some tried to stab him, but in the end he was left unscathed. He didn't care what happened and how it happened. Soon he started wishing for death. That's when he ran into Mythia. She stood in front of him with a blank expression. Youth told her to leave and threatened to kill her. Mythia dared him to kill him and pulled out her own knife. This is when he realized she was just like him, immortal. When Mythia found out that she wasn't alone, she started crying from happiness. Even though Youth didn't show any emotions, he was feeling equally relieved. He asked her if she was okay with traveling with a monstrous man like him. Mythia claimed that day that none of it matters anymore. That's the day they decided to travel together to find a way to die. However, the present-day Youth recalls that she held out her left hand that day and always stood on his left side because he has tentacles on the right side. He remembers that she always felt disgusted when he handed her things with his tentacle. Suddenly, Mythia tells him that she is leaving and bids him farewell. Youth yells and begs her to stay. His right arm starts feeling really heavy and numb. He wakes up from the nightmare and realizes that Mythia has been sleeping on his right arm. He yanks it away from her and she wakes up. He asks her that she has always hated his right arm, so why is she sleeping on it now? Mythia smiles and tells him that she felt that way in the beginning, but now she knows that this arm has saved her countless times. Youth looks at her and claims that she has saved him even more. Mythia suddenly starts blushing. Is our boy finally rizzing her up? Well, it seems to be working. He starts to panic and realizes that he said something weird. Not a response to cover up the awkward situation, he tries to break Mythia's neck. Not sure how that makes sense, but I'm okay with whatever works for him at this point. After a short pause, he asks her if she has ever killed someone. When she responds she hasn't, Youth admits that he has. He is finally opening up to her. He requests her to accompany him to his hometown, which is near the source of the river. The duo travels and Mythia notices the change in Youth's behavior. He isn't talking anymore and barely laughs. She is concerned that he might finally leave her now. She realizes that even after his confession of killing someone, she barely knows him. They arrive at his hometown and Mythia is enthralled by its beauty. They stand at the corner of the entrance and take a peek inside. Youth's eyes catch sight of the woman, probably his lover. She seems happy with a man that Youth calls Hugo. Youth still has her picture in his locket, but it looks like she has moved on. His heart is shattered and he starts walking away. Mythia is confused because they just traveled 1,000,000 miles to get here. Youth tells her that he has his reasons but isn't ready to talk about it yet. He requests her to leave him alone. She pouts and decides to visit the place on her own. Luckily, the first person she runs into is Emery, Youth's lover. She trips and receives a tiny injury. Emery's soon-to-be husband Hugo tells her to stay away from the outsider. However, Emery tends to Mythia's wounds. As soon as Mythia sees Emery's locket, she realizes what's going on. Hugo barges in and is hurt to see that she still has that necklace. He literally kicks Mythia out of their house. The rusted engines in Mythia's brain start running and her drunk brain cells try their best to put two and two together. It's not a surprise that she's unable to understand anything. However, she finds out the entire story from the whispers on the streets. She runs back to Youth and he requests her to warn the village of the upcoming attack of the monsters. Youth fights off the monsters for his hometown's sake, but as soon as his own people see him, they attack him. Even Hugo and Emery. Youth has no option but to kill them. He discards his locket and with a heavy heart resumes his journey with Mythia. He absolutely cannot imagine losing her. The way the plot is able to do a sudden 360 from comedy to utter darkness has never failed to faze me. Mythia and Youth are going through a huge trash heap to get some retail therapy, because apparently it contains a large amount of good stuff. Well, sometimes mysterious meteorites rain down from the sky and change everything, and these two immortals have been cast out for rejecting the new, crazy world, and are fishing through some actual rubbish. Youth wants only the basics, knowing it's silly to want more in a world like this. But Mythia is different. She acts like she's shopping in a mall, changing her clothes like it's no big deal, even though it's a waste of time when they're on a journey to find death. Her latest comfy outfit does smell like trash, however their situation is even worse since they can't seem to die, no matter the amount of ridiculous things that they have tried out. Suddenly, Mythia spots a bird shadow and leaves to catch it for dinner, only to be attacked by its hidden owner. Despite being injured, she quickly heals, shocking her attacker. The attacker now realizes she's not a normal human. The person who owns the bird is actually a kid. He's talking to people for the first time and seems to like his bird a lot. He tries harder to hurt Mythia by hitting her head with an axe. It might not be enough to kill her, but Youth is worried about reducing intelligence. Mythia quickly tells the attacker about their odd journey to find death. Meanwhile, Youth introduces himself with a lot of interest to the newcomer. Being immortal, Youth really wants to know why the kid is talking to someone for the first time and why they're all alone in such a dirty place. The mysterious kid reveals that he's always been by himself, believing everyone else is dead except him and his beloved bird. He's convinced he'll meet his end the moment he leaves the mountain of trash. He blames some radio waves for being a harmful force that destroys living things, suggesting it's a scheme by an outside king. He points to evidence like withering grass and dry soil as signs of the world's end. Feeling safer among his antennas in the trash heap, the kid's beliefs sound bizarre to the immortal companions. They have a quick chat on their own, agreeing the kid's ideas are outlandish and they should just ignore him. Deciding it's best to ditch before they start thinking like the kid, Mythia and Youth get ready to jet. But then, out of the blue, a song stops them in their tracks. The kid doesn't know who sings it, but he's all hyped about this girl who's always singing this sweet tune. He's eager to meet her by the cliff, even though it gives him the jitters. Youth thinks the singer might just be as crazy as the kid, but when they see a meteorite on the cliff, they figure talking to the singer might be better than hanging out with the trash-dwelling kid. But before they can say anything, the kid jumps in and says he'll guide them. He starts walking towards the cliff without waiting for an answer, dragging them along. Looks like they're stuck with him for now. Amazingly, their new guide has built an entire trash bridge, all the way to the other side of the cliff just because he has wanted to meet that woman for the longest time. Talk about determination, right? But before they can cross the bridge, Mythia, being a grateful traveler, asks the kid if there's anything they can do to help him. This might be her biggest mistake, because the kid replies that he wants to touch her chest. Youth mentions her small size, but the kid doesn't care and rubs her for a few seconds, making Mythia lose her mind as she didn't actually agree to this condition. The poor girl is still in trauma, while the two boys discuss that size doesn't really matter. However, the kid feels like he's missing out because the breasts in the book look much fluffier. This is why Youth lets the sicko kid rub his breasts as well, and now the two immortals are equally disturbed by a person half their size, which is hard to believe. Coming back to the cliff where the wind is too strong, Youth forbids Mythia from doing something stupid and falling again because it would be a huge pain to gather her up and put her pieces back together. They move through the trash bridge swiftly, making it look like they will reach the top of the cliff sooner rather than later. Before they can continue their journey, Mythia realizes the strange kid with them doesn't even have a name. She offers to come up with one, but Youth quickly shuts her down, remembering the creepy name she gave others before. They argue about it, saying the singer woman will need to call him something, right? Mythia really wants to name him Michan, but her suggestion falls on deaf ears. Their guide wonders about the woman's name, admitting he knows nothing about her except his strong desire to meet her. Mythia, true to form, wants to name her too, but they all agree it would be the worst idea if he asked to touch her breasts when they meet. She might run away without saying a word if he pulls that trick. When the talk of the singer comes up, the guy's mind starts wandering, thinking about the woman's chest. It's so distracting that Mythia nearly falls off the bridge, but Youth and the kid work together to save her. They find out that the kid has this weird power to make the trash bridge stronger by borrowing power from Earth. Youth thinks it's because of the meteorite. He thanks the kid for helping them get to the top safely. As they get closer to the woman, the strange group is surprised to find a singing statue of her. The old statue seems like it will sing forever because of the fallen meteor, which sounds like a terrible tale to the kid. He's disappointed because he's always dreamed of meeting her, but maybe the point is for him to finally leave his trash heap comfort zone. Taking off his mask, he breathes in fresh air and smells flowers for the first time. Youth tells him that while the world might be dangerous, he's strong enough to handle it with his abilities. The immortal pair suggest the big landship adventure to their guide, encouraging him to explore new things. The kid, though, seems more into finding new opie, which is his thing. They say goodbye, feeling a bit sorry that they couldn't gather more trash. Meanwhile, the kid thanks the statue for its song before leaving. The statue stays behind, singing among the flowers, making this a strange but beautiful sight. A group of scholars wearing masks has entered a mountain, searching for the right path while gossiping about an old man who seems to be their guide. They doubt whether the old man, who they think is not very smart, can guide them, but they carry on with their duty. One of them steps up to check for air contamination, telling the others to capture and study all of the organisms nearby. But before they can finish their research, a mysterious voice warns them of severe punishment if they continue. It sounds too serious and dangerous for anyone to argue with. Later, Mythia and Youth are crossing the mountain looking for their happy end, and smothering their thirst with the tasty water. They clearly look exhausted, and Youth thinks that it's the perfect spot for them to rest as they have found an underground lake. Before they can set up camp, Youth heads off to explore after sensing something strange, leaving the unreliable Mythia behind to fill up the canteens. While still searching for the canteen, a group of strange people capture Mythia. They inform her about an ongoing investigation and insist that she must deliver a message to Shrine, emphasizing that they won't hand this task to anyone else. It's evident they've mistaken Mythia for someone else. Youth reaches her just in time to clear out this confusion, making them realize that they have jumped to the wrong conclusion. The leader, Dean, introduces himself along with his assistants, Simon and Cheryl, explaining that they are scholars. They apologize for jumping on Mythia, admitting they mistook her for someone else taking over the job. Who would have thought that scholars would resort to violence, right? The companions talk about their long journey of immortality, which excites the three scholars. In their private chat, they reveal that their mentors are studying exactly what the companions have experienced, making this encounter quite valuable. Bringing the companions back could fix their mistakes and be more than just a valuable find. Mythia notices their whispering and tells them to stop, hinting she doesn't want to miss out. Suddenly, she spots a strange old man mumbling to himself, which freaks her out. Dean informs them that the old man's name is Mr. Norman, the only survivor of a mountain town recently destroyed by a meteorite. He guided the scholars for their investigation 2 weeks ago, but extracting information from him is challenging. Dean guesses that there might be a road ahead leading to town, mentioning the land's belief in spirits who detest rudeness. The scholars aimed to study the relationship between the meteorite and the spirits, hoping to reverse its effects. They're taking Mr. Norman to the mountain summit because he's too weak to go alone and wants to see his hometown. The scholars also express interest in the companions' immortality journey and ask them to wait until they return for further discussion. After the scholars leave, the immortal companions sense something fishy. They're immediately suspicious and think that the scholars are hiding something. Youth decides to follow them and Mythia joins him. Meanwhile, the scholars discuss the water of life, which they must hide from the immortals. They can't let their companions get cured at all. Their plan is to drink the water themselves to return to their original forms. Then, they'll take the immortal pair back to the lab as research subjects. The scholars start arguing amongst themselves, sounding more like a lover's quarrel than a professional discussion. They turn to the old man to confirm if the water will cure them all. Mr. Norman simply gives them a thumbs up, leaving them unsure if he even understands what they're still talking about. Still, they have no choice but to trust him and his hearing abilities. The immortal pair overhears everything, and Mythia is thrilled at the idea of returning to normal. However, Youth's mind jumps ahead, wondering what life will be like after they're cured. He asks Mythia if she'll still want to live once they're back to normal, realizing it will also mean the end of their journey. Not wanting to waste time on serious matters, Mythia shifts her focus to despising the scholars for keeping something so amazing to themselves. She declares that she will expose their secrets. Grabbing a ladder, she aims to beat the scholars to the top, reminding Youth of her habit of not listening to others. Later, the scholars argue over who will carry the old man when the immortal pair arrives, revealing they've overheard the plan. Dean pretends to let them join, but it's obvious he's lying when the scholars rush ahead to the top. Mythia can't believe that they're suddenly united when they were arguing 2 seconds ago. Therefore, she tells Youth to go after them as fast as he can. Looks like less of a bond, more of poor Youth being used right now. The scholars grow increasingly frustrated with the race, as well as with the old man, whom they see as useless. Eventually, they reach the top after navigating through crumbling pathways, and the old man becomes emotional as he sees his destroyed town. When they find the water of life, there's only 1 cup left, and the old man claims it for himself, refusing to share even a drop. It becomes clear that he planned to betray them all along. The scholars are shocked by his ungratefulness, considering they brought him all the way to the top after a lot of effort. Meanwhile, the immortal pair also reaches the summit. Mythia, in her carelessness and thirst, drinks the entire jug of water without a second thought, causing cardiac arrest in everyone around her. After downing the jug, Mythia passes out, terrifying Youth, who fears she's dead. He never wanted their foolish journey to end like this. Luckily, she wakes up a few minutes later, and Youth declares that he'll never worry about her again. Meanwhile, the scholars feel cheated by the old man, who reveals the drink doesn't cure anyone since it's booze. He finds more jugs and invites them to join him for a toast. Later, everyone gathers for a drink while Mythia basks naked in the sun, showing no shame. The scholars argue that they can't return home because they look like monsters. Since the town produces the best alcohol, they decide to stay and make as much booze as they can to develop it into a hot springs town. They discuss their plan while soaking in the hot springs, but it turns into more of a party. The immortal pair laughs about their inability to die again, and Youth asks Mythia if she'd prefer to live or die if they actually get cured. Her answer is straightforward. She wants to go with the flow and deal with it when the time comes, with Youth by her side. Her sudden puke interrupts the conversation, and the two companions are bound to wake up the next day with an insane hangover. The immortal pair has stopped to rest because Mythia keeps saying she was tired. Little do they know, Kiko, the thief, is watching them from far away. He doesn't seem to like how much they rest, especially since Youth is being kinder to Mythia lately. Even though he's not happy with them, Kiko finds the immortals interesting. That's why he's keeping an eye on where they go. It's almost like he's following them. He thinks the world will end before they die if they keep resting too much. With some help from his plushy companion Unizo, Kiko packs up their bags until the little toy falls into a pretty odd place, a cave. Curious, Kiko decides to explore further. Leaving Unizo at the entrance because the toy didn't want to go deeper, Kiko starts walking and discovers many charms indicating that people have been there. Fortunately, there are no traps, which excites him even more about what lies beyond the cave. Suddenly, he spots a girl who calls out to her friends, and a party starts without warning. Everyone is thrilled to have a visitor after ages, and they make Kiko feel at home by offering all kinds of food and drinks, which makes the thief realize that things are certainly moving too fast. Smart as he is, Kiko avoids eating the food as it seems suspicious, and looks around to see the entire village along with the few dozen people who have come out to welcome him, and they all look fairly modest. He is scared about getting involved in some kind of religious group, planning to sneak away as soon as he can grab some supplies. At this point, the girl from earlier comes over to talk, letting Kiko know that he is too shady and he'll be the one dying in a couple of days instead of her. He isn't sure if he should run or ask for more details about this, until the girl asks him to come over to her place during the night. He is surely looking forward to sneaking into a beautiful girl's bedroom, and the unnamed girl also gets her permission sorted. Night falls and the two are finally together at home when Kiko finds out that she is the village leader's daughter. Getting right to the point, she asks him to get out of here. It turns out that this is a monotheistic religious village where no one ever leaves, so it's quite understandable that the girl wants to take off. Eloping with a man she doesn't know sounds risky, so she tells him about her sacrifices in the village to an unknown god whenever there's a bad harvest. Her job has always been to attract the sacrifices until a guy showed up with all his knowledge and books. That poor guy was obviously sacrificed, but she is set on escaping, as she hands over a map of the place and the patrol routes of the guard to Kiko. The thief can see that she is too naive because he can easily escape on his own now, while she informs him that they don't have much time to put this plan into action. Her name is revealed to be Amelia by this time, as she tells him some more horrible details about the sacrifice. Kiko has also noticed that she keeps grabbing the necklace that is apparently important to her. However, she isn't ready to talk about her personal stuff just yet. They continue to draw up some more plans, looking for the best way to make their exit when Amelia asks him about his past. It only makes sense because he knows almost everything about her now. Therefore, he has no choice but to narrate his own story. His sad story about being born in a mining town which is completely destroyed manages to impress Amelia somehow, as she wants everyone to die eventually, especially her father. It's evident that she's getting quite interested in this thief, who has the perfect escape plan, as he mentions that they will go on a date as he has planned in the perfect spring outing. He plans on being the foolish traveler who's completely fallen in love with his guide, Amelia, and fool everyone around them. He hopes that good things will come to them if they wait, however he doesn't look ready to take Amelia on his journey to find interesting things. He thinks that she is a clueless, whiny crybaby who will slow him down, but the poor girl really wants to get away from her fellow villagers who are too stupid for their own good. Hearing her pleas, Kiko announces that he will decide if she gets through the next day without making a crying fuss. Amelia accepts the bet, and the morning arrives with the leader's prayers as he tells Amelia to give the purification cup to Kiko, which will paralyze him. This is the perfect opportunity for her to let her father know that he is a bad human for sacrificing her mother, and choosing her as the next sacrifice as well. Her mic drop speech is followed by throwing the cup in the father's face, and the two partners make a run for it after letting everyone know that they shouldn't move because they have set up a number of explosives. The pair run towards the shrine and achieve their freedom, which is completely hard to believe for the poor girl who has discovered that her village's god was completely made up. It's actually a monster, and Amelia happily offers herself to be eaten instead of Kiko. The only thing she wants in return is for Kiko to never forget about her because she has won the bet after not whining the whole day. Later, the immortal pair come to this location where the smell is horrid, and it's obvious that people recently died around here. They turn to leave, while Kiko is hidden away, crying over the girl who sacrificed herself for him. Building up some courage, he walks out, envying Unizo for not going inside, but also feeling relieved that he went. He is holding Amelia's necklace with his curiosity killing him, promising that he will live as the girl had told him that he can't be the bad guy.